Millay School for Girls in West Sussex provides continuing professional development across the school by sharing and enhancing the skills of all their staff. In charge of CPD at the school is Assistant Head Sue Kelly. How did she first tackle the job?
I didn't really have a clue, if I'm perfectly honest. One of the first things I wanted to do was to raise awareness of all the different types of activities that constituted good continuing professional development. And by doing so, really to raise awareness amongst the staff that all of these things were actually taking place on a daily basis. But were we recognising them as continuing professional development, and were we valuing the kind of conversations and the kind of activities that we were doing? Did we really value all of these activities as really worthwhile professional development for ourselves, or did we only value professional development activities which took place outside the school and that cost a lot of money and that quite often didn't really support the needs that we had in the workplace?
I want to know the probability of choosing a consonant from that group of letters.
Millay School has an in-house system of assessing and meeting CPD needs, including classroom observation.
Simplify your answers if they're not simplified. Good. So we've got 1, 2, 3 consonants.
Here, overseas trained teacher Sanchia Morgan is taking her Year 8s for probability.
Now, I would like to know...
So she can move towards qualified teacher status, her lesson is being observed by Head of Department Liam Ware.
First of all, she's going through qualified teacher status, but within that we're doing an assessment for learning focused so that we can actually put that down in a portfolio. Key point for the department this year is to improve how students understand their work, how the teachers can understand that the students understand, and going even in a silly context, can the students understand how the teachers understand their understanding?
If you add all these up, does it give you a whole? No. So what's the extra little piece going to be left?
Yellow.
There you go. Right, calculate the probability that a counter drawn out is...
Counter is black.
Yeah.
So 3/4 of it. 3/4 of 32 has got to be white, hasn't it? Yeah, so divide 32 by 4 and times it by 3 to get rid.
Things like whiteboard procedures are very, very good. You've got them in so that you can observe what's going on. With the whiteboards, the next step forward for you is to ask a bit more open-ended questions when they're doing things. You're asking good questions and getting good feedback from it, but you could say other things like, show me different ways of doing this. Or another thing that struck me during the lessons, you could get the students doing more things like, show me how you could get it wrong. Key bits again, I mean, you're using lots of different AFL techniques with the whiteboards, with how the students are grading in their books, how they're informing you that they do or don't understand it. That's all really good practice. It's just a case now of developing it even further with part of the open-ended questions that you're putting in. As I said, that phrase, tell me how you got there, is such a great phrase to use with them. And developing that, I think it's all going to be excellent, and it's what's being used is a lot more than what's being used county-wide from what I understand. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think if we're honest, you know, it can be quite uncomfortable to have someone in your lesson. We're all perfectionists, I think. We all want to do a really good job. We're all committed to doing a good job. And yes, some people find it more daunting than others to have people in the lesson. But I think what we're trying to do here is to develop again a culture where we really value lessons and observations as an opportunity to get some feedback on what we do and to take our work forward, to develop our skills and our knowledge and understanding.
Each member of staff has their own individual CPD action plan.
One of my targets was to start teaching Spanish, so I'm just building a resource bank at the same time. I'm spending the whole day working on PowerPoint presentations.
I took the DFES list of activities which constitute good professional development, and there's a whole host of, a great big list of things, and all I did was to take that initially and to put it onto a pro forma which staff completed. Can you just talk through the kind of objectives and targets that you've identified on your staff development pro forma?
First, there is individual need targets, which come from classroom observation from peers or managers. And then there's also ICT needs that we think we need as a department or as individual.
Yeah.
There's also the departmental targets that are taken into account.
That's right, because everybody needs to work towards those,
towards
don't
the same
they?
thing. And finally, there are our individual targets from the performance management review. So it's really the pro forma helps us keep an overview of all the targets through all the different sections.
And not to forget them, because I think it's important. It's important to keep them live, isn't it?
When I first saw it, I needed someone to go through it because obviously there was a lot. I didn't know if I had to fill in loads of ticks or if I could only have 1 or 2 ticks. And when I went through it with the head of department, and then we've been told, no, it's better to put fewer ticks, but to achieve them than to put loads of things, because obviously there's a lot of interesting things to do, but you can vary them over the years.
Okay, Hazel, so you're a form tutor at the moment with a year 10 tutor group. And
Hazel is very keen to further her own professional development and to gain some pastoral experience.
Yes, I identified several things. Some things like assemblies. I've only ever done that with my tutor group, but it's an area which obviously I haven't done, so I would like to have some experience in doing that.
And certainly I can provide that for you. There would be opportunities.
She's working with Di Baker, who's an experienced pastoral leader, to an action plan which I have put together with Hazel.
I'd also like to working with outside agencies. That would be an area that I would find interesting, and also that's something I haven't done. So.
Okay, I mean, we have a lot of involvement with outside agencies, and just today actually we've been involved with some of the educational psychologists, but certainly I have regular meetings with the education welfare officer, so there's no problem with you sitting in on one of those meetings.
Yes, that would be very good.
You've obviously identified your needs with Sue on an action plan, and what I will do now is go away and take on board the needs that you've identified and try to devise a programme with more specific dates and aims and objectives to meet those needs and get back to you, and hopefully it will be up and running as soon as possible within the next week, I hope.
Lovely, thank you very much.
I see my job as being a coordinator and a facilitator and a supporter, and I suppose one of the first things that I tried to introduce and that was happening anyway. It wasn't a new idea, it wasn't my idea, but it was about raising again the profile, was to look at the role of middle leaders in leading and coordinating professional development practices within their own subject areas, and also pastoral leaders to coordinate the professional development of their tutor team.
Jenny, you've been acting head of year 10 and you were assistant head of year for 2 terms before that. How are you finding your new role?
It's good. It's a challenge.
Self-review is a really important part, or reviewing a person's work with an experienced member of staff, in this case with Shirley Mitchell, who is a member of the leadership team responsible for the pastoral support.
Wider basis now, so, and trying to pick up on all of those things, because it obviously involves a lot more now than it used to.
Yeah.
So.
And what do you think you've learnt so far?
I think, number one, it's my confidence. Because whereas before I was thinking, I'm not in that role, so I don't have to worry about it. Now I'm thinking I do have to talk to parents and I do have to phone them up on a daily basis. Whereas before I was maybe doing it every half term or so as a subject teacher. I'm now having to do it as a head of year and with a lot more responsibility. Yeah, and it could be about several different subjects that I'm dealing with them.
What about things you want to develop?
Some of the things in here, I mean, I've done observations I did the middle management course about 2 years ago. I did do how to do an observation, and it's obviously something I've got to start actually, the tutor observations, because although I've only got 12 to do, I think time soon slips away. And just making myself aware of what it is I'm going to be looking for, and letting the tutors know what I'm going to be looking for if I have to do observations.
And that's very developmental for them, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because good.
Yeah.
Good. So for your individual development plan, what are you thinking of doing in the future?
I'm thinking with the tutorial programme, developing what we do for citizenship and really pinpointing that, and that's something I've got to do an audit on anyway. Looking at transition to Key Stage 4, a lot of them are finding it quite difficult with coursework and talking about study skills. And they've also got these progress files for for tutors to become familiar with, and maybe trying to see where other subjects can pick up on some of that stuff as well, really.
We are always giving feedback to students as teachers. It's part and parcel of what we do, and it's a very important part of what we do. But I don't think that we really are above getting feedback from students. I think we all value that as important feedback for us, and at the end of the day, they are the ones on the receiving end of what we do. They have an understanding of how it impacts on their work and their learning in the classroom. And I think student feedback is an incredibly important and valuable tool.
Things you say today we'll act upon. So it's your chance to tell us what maths has been like since you've been here. It's also a chance for you to tell us what you would like it to be in the next 2.5, 3 years, especially in the GCSE years.
I like it when we use the whiteboards in maths because everyone can answer the question and it's a whole group thing.
I think it would be easier if we could go up to the board and say
I think the student voice is immensely powerful, and I do think that the more that students do of it, the more honest and comfortable they become with it, and the more then effective it is and valuable for us.
How does staff let you know how you're doing, and how do they help you improve what you're doing?
I like it when we have a sheet in the back of our book and it says targets, and then you write it down, and if you've achieved it you tick it off, because that really helps if you write them down, so it shows that you have actually achieved what you wanted to achieve.
What do you want to see more of in your maths lessons, or what do you want to see less of?
I'd like it if we used ICT more, because we do use it sometimes, but when we've had a lesson in here in the computer room, it was really helpful.
I'd like to do more class discussions because I learn really well when I'm involved in a conversation, and I don't think we do enough of them, because sometimes we just work in our workbooks, but I think when you talk about it, you understand it better sometimes.
Okay, we will give you more time to discuss things.
I'd like to see more visual explanation on the board, if cause some people don't understand and they can't really pinpoint on what exactly we're doing.
I lose my concentration just working from books, and I like working in groups, so where you're going wrong your friends can help you.
Well, I like things which are more interactive, because like when the teacher asks you questions and you have to answer them, because it actually makes you think, because sometimes if the teacher is like talking, you might fall asleep, and then if she just suddenly asks you a question, you have to actually listen. It makes you think.
Okay.
I'd like to see less of the books, because I find just working from the books, if we get the aim down and then someone says work from the books, then you're kind of like a bit, well, is that all we're doing? Okay.
If we broke it into, say, 10-minute chunks of different things to do, would that be helpful?
Yeah, much better.
You need to have a vision of where you want CPD practices in your school to go from where they are at the moment. And I would say be confident, because there were times when, and I'm sure the staff will endorse this, when I got on everybody's nerves because I chanted CPD. But I was told by a professional mentor, that I was on the right track to keep going, and I had the support of my head teacher and the rest of the senior leadership team. And yes, that was quite hard sometimes, because what I wanted to do was to engage staff onto CPD and not to turn them off. So really being confident and involve staff, really involve the whole staff, create a learning environment in your school.